The lonely forgotten iPhone 8. Should you buy it in March 2018? That video is coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Got a comment in earlier today, said, Nick, I want to buy the iPhone 8, but I'm not sure about the battery life with that device. And this one actually has been quite forgotten. You know, I didn't really cover it too much. I got a little bit busy with the iPhone 10 status versus Note 8 and all that stuff. And we kind of forgot about the iPhone 8, but we're going to revisit it here and just talk all together if you should buy it. So I want to talk about the key specifications really quickly, not too much, it's kind of boring, but A11 CPU, 2 gigs of RAM. We have a 12 megapixel 4K camera, 4.7 inch display. That's the same retina you found on the iPhone 7, but this one does have True Tone, and it's a little bit better in terms of, you know, color calibration and all that over the iPhone 6 if you have an iPhone 6, but definitely it's nothing like a 2K display or anything like a 1080p Full HD. So those are the key specifications of the iPhone 8. It does bring a glass back for you here as well, which is easy to crack, so you might want a case if you do pick one up. Second gen Touch ID, no headphone jack, and stereo sound when it comes to audio. Did you buy it in terms of the design? Well, it's got a glass back on the rear. It's definitely very similar to that of the iPhone 6. So if you're updating from the iPhone 6, it'll just feel like a more premium version of your iPhone 6, but not too much more premium, because once you slap a case on, it's about the same form factor, about the same phone. Now, I do think it feels quite classy and it definitely feels premium, but when you take a look at this price range, there's a lot of phones that have an 18:9 display, curved displays. You can even get cheaper older phones like the Samsung S7 Edge, which I think have a much better design than the iPhone 8, and it's going to be less money. So really, you know, this design is a pretty classic iPhone. It's nothing, you know, super amazing, and I think if you get it, you'll be okay with it, but you might be, you know, desiring a little bit more going forward here as more phones do get announced. So design is just average in my opinion for this device. The average doesn't mean that it's built average. Now, it does have a glass rear here, which I think basically Apple did this because the S6 Edge all the way through the S7 Edge, even the S8 was all glass, and you know, people really love those devices. So Apple went ahead and brought back glass. Now, some people say no, they brought back glass for a classic reference back to their original iPhone 4 and 4S. I disagree. I think it's because the Samsung devices have been doing glass for years now, the past few years, and it's been really trendy. So I think that's why they went back with glass here. But having glass means that you're susceptible to a crack on this device. Now, if you do drop it on the back, this will shatter quite easily. However, the sides of the iPhone 8 are very, very durable, and the camera lens is actually quite durable as well. You can place this on a table and that camera lens is not going to scratch up too much, but you will get little micro scratches if you don't have something on the rear of the iPhone 8. So it is pretty strong around the edges, like I say, but the glass needs some protection. So let's talk about the display here on the iPhone 8. Now, we're talking about Retina panel. This bad boy is going to give you like 326 pixels per inch, same as it's been for eons now. But they did a good job with the calibration, as also they brought True Tone here. So it has a pretty nice, you know, shifting of colors depending on your lighting environment. And at nighttime, night shift is very easy on the eyes. My only issue with this panel is that text is actually noticeably not sharp in comparison to if you've seen a 2K display. But if you're coming from, you know, like an iPhone 5S or an iPhone SE, this will actually be an upgrade in display. But anything like iPhone 6, 6 Plus, you'll see an upgrade in colors, but overall you're not going to feel like it's much sharper or anything like that. It'll feel about the same. So this display, while not the best, it's one of the best, you know, LCD displays you can get, but it's just not even close to the sharpest panel you can get. So that's how I would sum this display up. If you're okay with a display that's not the crispiest in the world, but you like color calibration, you'll love the iPhone 8. And what I mean by color calibration, it just means that everything looks very balanced, nothing looks oversaturated and stuff like that. It looks very natural to the eye. Good viewing angles as well, although not as good as OLED. Buy it in terms of software. Well, we know this is running iOS 11.3 2.5 here, I think it is, on this device. But you know what? When it first came out, there were some glitches and some weird stutters that I was having on the iPhone 8. Same was true for the iPhone 8 Plus, and same was true for the iPhone 10. However, over these updates to 11.2.5, 11.2.6, it's actually getting much better, and it's running pretty flawlessly now here on the iPhone 8. Now, sometimes icons will still go dark, like the phone, stuff in the dock. Even some icons on the screen, you have to click and open it to get that darkness to go away. I know some of you know what I'm talking about. Some probably haven't experienced this, but the software overall just runs fantastic. So if you want to buy this just for software, it's an easy recommend. It's super solid and it feels as fast as a MacBook on a phone. So yes, in terms of software, it's a go. And one last thing I want to mention about the software, this phone should be updated for at least 4 to 5 years. So it's going to be very well updated, but by then I'm sure the design will be rather boring and super dated within the 4 to 5 year time frame. So just be ready for that if you're going to buy an iPhone 8. Now, in terms of battery life, this is one that, a subscriber asked me earlier today. I'm scared of the battery life, and I want to tell you right now, do not be scared of the battery life with the iPhone 8. This thing excels in the battery life. It does very well for a small iPhone, much better than the iPhone 7 and much better than the iPhone 6 series. It actually did quite well for their 4.7-inch model this year. Now, it's not quite as good as the iPhone 10 or the 8 Plus, but I'm easily able to get through a day with this device on the iPhone 8, and that's something I wouldn't be able to say for the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 6. Now, depending on your usage. Now, I'm a pretty heavy user, so I'm talking from a perspective of heavy use, but you will get the low battery power mode, and I'm sure they're going to do some battery updates in iOS 11.3 and iOS 12, as Apple should be refocusing on software this year, as they've already introduced their new design last year where they were more focused on hardware. So iOS 12 should bring enhancements to this in terms of the battery life, although it is already quite good here for the 8. So don't fret, battery life is pretty good on the iPhone 8. Okay, so I want to discuss the camera here. Should you buy it in terms of camera? Short answer, yes, it's a very good, solid shooter. Problem with the iPhone 8 though is that the phone is almost the same price as an iPhone 8 Plus. It's not too much less than an iPhone 10. It's a couple $100 or so. You can actually find the iPhone 10 now for about $795 to $895 if you find it on Swappa, for example. So you're gonna pay like $700. You pay $200 more, you get the portrait lenses on those phones. But in terms of if you just want to snap a photo, you just want to take good videos, the iPhone 8 is going to do it. And it's going to do it very simply. It's going to use the feature that you might use the most, and that's just basic photography. So it's going to do basic photography very well on this device. So you can see just incredible detail. And I actually think that the only Android phone that can compete with the iPhone 8 when it comes to its photography is the Pixel. I think that Samsung dropped the ball by not upgrading their camera on the S8. I'm happy to see they did it on the S9, but in terms of the iPhone 8, it was a better camera, I think, than the Galaxy S8 last year. So yes, I would recommend it here. It does 4K 60 recording, which is phenomenal for a phone of this size. However, one annoying thing about iPhone is you still have to go into the settings to get into the camera settings. There's no manual settings right out of the box, but great 4K camera here on the iPhone 8. Definite recommend. Also, I want to talk about the audio. The stereo sound on here is actually 20% louder according to Apple than the prior editions. But if we go into a Nick Ackerman video, for example, here, and let's go through this ad real quick in just a second. It will also show you your battery charge, and if we go over here, it'll show you what application. It might not be coming through greatly on the microphone, but it's pretty loud. You can cover it here and it still plays. Cover it here and it still plays. So pretty good speakerphone overall. And that brings me on the call quality, because call quality on this phone has been pretty fantastic, much unlike the older iPhones where they would drop calls a lot. No drop calls on here, and I like the speakerphone like we were just talking about for a loud speakerphone talking experience. So it's good there. So should you buy the iPhone 8 in March 2018? Now that's a trickier proposition than a lot of people might think at first. Yes, it's a solid phone in many areas. It's got True Tone display. It's got second gen Touch ID. It's blazing fast with an A11 and 2 gigs of RAM. We know it's going to get updates. It's got a 4K 60 camera, glass design, comes in 3 different colors, and it's going to be less than both an iPhone 8 Plus and less than an iPhone 10. However, it misses out on a key element, which is design. Design looks like a 2014 smartphone, and I think these days when a phone represents more of your personality and stuff like that, a lot of people want to get something that looks a little bit more fresh in design. I mean, even 2016 phones look a little bit better to me than this iPhone 8. So that's where they really dropped the ball on this. They could have at least extended the screen a little bit on this one, or made it slightly bigger, maybe 5-inch on the iPhone 8, but they decided to keep the same design, and that's the Achilles heel here for the iPhone 8. But if you're the type of person who doesn't care about having the latest and freshest design, yes, I recommend the iPhone 8. If you want portrait modes, bokeh and all that, you're really into photography, skip out on this one. And if you're looking for the best bargain when it comes to an A11 phone, you got to get this one. It's the cheapest one you can get. But if you're looking for an even better value, I think the iPhone 7 Plus from last year offers a better value, because you get a bigger screen, you get a dual camera with portrait mode, better battery life, and a better display at 1080p, and it's around the same price point as an iPhone 8, so keep that in mind. But anyway, that's it for me here. iPhone 8. If you found this video helpful, enjoyable, do me a favor, click that like button for me, and if you're new here, consider subscribing for more. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well. I will catch you all in the next episode, and peace.